just, we're missing an attendee in the minutes.
Yes. Michelle corrected it.
Okay. Everything else is good. I need a mover. Bob. Seconder, Dean. Move on to 4. We have on our items for discussion consideration 4.1. Three-way stop on Notre Dame West analysis proposal. And I think Martin has a presentation on this.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. The Public Works Department received a complaint about constant speeders down Notre Dame Street West. One of the residents who lives on near the corner of Mailly Road and Notre Dame insisted many times that there were lots of speeders, and he would like to see the three-way stop moved from Doe Street to Nadon Street. I told him I would get our car counter Black Cat device out and get a good amount of data. So I put it out there for 2 weeks, from July something. From July 11th to July 22nd. Report shows roughly just over 3,000 vehicles crossed in a 11-day period. And 921 of those vehicles were considered speeding. Considered speeding is over 51 kilometers an hour. But the average rate was about 41. Going through the data, we can see that there is actually a large volume of vehicles traveling above, we'll say a tolerable speed we'll say is between 50 and 60. Anything above that is too fast for our residential area. So we got about 25 vehicles going from 61 kilometers an hour all the way up to 89 kilometers an hour. The whole point of this study was to see how many vehicles are speeding into town from Mailly. Now, I know that Mailly is also a topic of interest because everybody speeds down our country roads. That's a topic for another day, but they are country farm roads. I don't expect people to be cruising at 50, but once you get into town, there's definitely precedence to slow down. So basically, based off of this information, it is very likely, or at least a high recommendation from the Public Works Department to move the stop sign from Doe Street to Nadon Street to have people stop before they enter town and then go about their way once they get into town. Yeah, that's that. There's also in the report, if you look at it, there's also a recommendation from Public Works to lower the speed limit of all roads within the town of Noelville to 40 kilometers an hour. At the moment, I think half are 40 kilometers, where the other half are 50. It doesn't really make any sense. I believe if you go down Champlain, it's technically 50, but as soon as you hit Saint Antoine, it's 40. It doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. So all of our residential areas should be 40 kilometers an hour, in my opinion. That's my presentation. If anybody has any comments or concerns or questions.
I have a question. Is this only capturing people coming into town or both ways?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is both ways. So if you actually look on, you can see it on basically every reporting page. I'll just look at the one with the speedometer. It'll tell you total vehicles combined. That's every vehicle. And then you'll have the east side So vehicles going east, and then the other one is vehicles going west.
Now, is this where you put the speedometer thing?
Yes, it is. The red marker on the page is where the Black Cat was installed.
Do you realize that the Black Cat was installed maybe 200 feet from the stop sign and people were averaging 50 kilometers an hour? So they're still going pretty fast and there's kids playing around there.
Yes, that's also what it shows, is that people are still traveling too fast, approaching a stop sign.
And there's one going two of them going 89, one going west, one going east. So I'm wondering if it's both ways, does moving the stop sign help? Because they obviously didn't slow down for that stop sign. If they only be coming from, it might help, but it seems that the numbers look almost the same for both ways. Directions.
Through through Mr. Chair. Yes, the idea behind moving the stop sign is to prevent the people from coasting into town at 70, 60, 80 kilometers an hour. Understood that people are still going to be going 60, 65, 70 in town, but it's to prevent the people from just speeding in, because they would technically have to stop once they enter town, because that's what the stop sign would be, and then they would have to speed up from there. So that's the whole point, is that we just don't want people coasting in at 70, 80 kilometers an hour.
Is there any other questions, Gary?
Can we add a second one? Instead of moving it, just add one?
Yes, I don't recommend it, just because then it just gets to the point where you're stopping and going and stopping, because they're pretty close. They're about 80 meters from each other. Like it's you could definitely do that if it was a large, like I feel as though the data doesn't support a large amount of people speeding and blowing all of the stop signs, but should that be a case, we could have multiple stop signs, then we'd get into like the area here where it's just stop sign every 2 seconds. But it is a straight road after all, and the idea of having that road is to get people from point A to point B. We just don't want them excessively speeding through town, if you understand what I mean.
I lived there for 5 years in between your dot and your stop sign. And what you're gonna see if you just move the stop sign is people are gonna go 50 kilometers an hour across Stowe Street and then slow down to that stop sign. So Gary had a very good point, in my opinion.
And through you, Mr. Chair. Well, there's only one way to get accurate data. Just have a test. If we move the stop sign once and then put 2 stop signs up and get a bunch of data, that's one way to do it, but that's up to council to decide that one.
Bob?
I would not like to see two stop signs, because I think, like you say, it'll be stop and go, but we might be forced into it. I would be ready, like you say, trial and error, move the stop signs, get data. If the data is no better, well, maybe that would be the next step then. Thank you.
Dean, did you have something else?
OPP, who does the reinforcement?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is the OPP who is the enforcing agency in the area. I have sent this data to them so they could do their patrols, but again, over the course of 11 days, there was 20 significant speeders right all throughout the days and nights, like it doesn't warrant. People are slowing down. They're just that specific spot, they're coming in too fast into town. And there are, I believe, 4, 5, 6 houses between that area. And I know there are no sidewalks in that area. So that's another concern where kids and adults are walking their dogs or whatnot. That's the concern. Notre Dame Street West is we'll call it a large collector road, designed to move traffic from out of town into the neighboring farming fields. So another recommendation, I don't remember if I put it in the report or not, but would be for a fast moving road, we should probably have sidewalks there. All the residential areas like Doe Street, Edna, that traffic is too slow. It's windy. Ideally, we'd have sidewalks everywhere, but we don't need sidewalks everywhere. So, yeah, to answer your question, Councillor Dean, it's, yeah, the OPP is supposed to be looking over that.
Speed limit in towns is 50 clicks. I mean, I think that's what it's supposed to be unless otherwise marked. And if the idea of slowing it down with 40 clicks, you may have some luck. You may find just more people that are going to be speeding. I would just draw your attention to, if you're going into Sudbury and you get past the hospital and you start up the hill there and up towards the old hospital, there's a 40 click speed limit there that's about a mile long or 3/4 of a mile. And nobody is driving at 40 clicks in there. I mean, and nor 50. A lot of it's more than 50 that they're driving through, and a 40 click speed limit is posted too. I mean, it's not hard to see it. And I only mention this because if we put signs up that are 40 clicks or whatever we wanted to do, without enforcement, it doesn't make nothing much happens.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I actually have a really good response to that one. So roads, people drive to the condition of the road. A good example for that road in Sudbury, it's a 4-lane road with sidewalks. It was 40 because of the old hospital. They never took it down, but the flow of traffic dictates how well you can drive on that road. A very good example is if you go to McRae Heights out in Balcarron, it is 60 with a 5-lane highway, divided highway with sidewalks. Nobody drives 60 there. Everybody's driving 80, 90 because you can easily do it because there's room. The road is wide, but it's a residential area. So they slow it down because people built houses on the highway. And that's the issue when it comes to speed and speed enforcement. Because I know, I definitely don't know of any municipal employee who would do this, but I know on our side roads, Houle Road, Maillet Road, Delamere, Shaw Road, people are driving 70, 80 kilometers an hour regularly because the road is wide and there are no houses next to the road. Although all the houses are off the road, we've received multiple complaints of people speeding, understood, but it's hard to control that when the road was built and upgraded to accommodate these speeds. When we, like you said, when we put speed limits to tell people to drive slower, but your driving sense is telling you can drive faster, that's the problem. And we have a lot of these issues in Sudbury where you have these residential areas where they have, I forget the name of the road, Southview or something by Gloria's. The road is wide and it's a deviating road where it takes the traffic off of the highway and it's another large road. Well, it's only 40 or 50 there. There's speed bumps all over, but it wasn't the design. The purpose of the road was to get cars from point A to point B. It's not a residential road, but people built it up as a residential area. So they're trying to slow down traffic. Well, somebody messed up there, and hopefully we can learn from other people's mistakes and learn how to stop that. So going back to Notre Dame Street West, it's a straight road going away, but the short span in town, we can control that. You know, we have our pavement. If we had we don't have sidewalks, but if we had sidewalks, we can at least control that area. I can't control what people are doing out in the country. There's no reason to. Like, there is, like, obviously don't want anybody to go crazy, but that's just the way that the road was built. If we wanted people to slow down, we would have curves and winds and stuff like that. Yes, I don't know if I answered your question, but I would recommend for this specific instance to move the stop sign to prevent people from driving into town too fast. Have the black cat up, get some more data, see because theoretically, if I have the black cat at the same area, everybody coming into town should theoretically be going 20, 30 kilometers an hour because they just stopped. Or I can move it to Doe Street and see what the traffic, how fast people are going to accelerate from there to Doe Street is. And then we can see how fast people are leaving town because they should be slowing down because the stop sign's there. That's what I would recommend. I don't recommend changing the speed limits on Notre Dame. I drove it, put the cruise on 50, and 50 was more than enough. It's not too slow. It's not too fast. It's fine. So yeah, I would recommend moving the stop sign. That's my recommendation.
Gary? Instead of moving the stop sign, could we not put a speed bump at Nadal and maybe one on the other side? That would slow people down and leave the stop sign where it is on Doe Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm not a big fan of traffic calming devices for the same reasons that I just gave. It's just the road, people are going to drive that speed on that road. I don't like having speed bumps and stuff, and then Public Works has to go and maintain them, remove them during the winter, or install them and store them. And depending on what kind of speed bump we get, or we can just do the old fashioned way and just put a pothole and not fix it, but tends to work. But I think I believe that the three-way stop would be a good deterrent for 90% of people, and that's ideally what we're looking for. I had heard the original intent of that three-way stop was to prevent one individual driving into town going 100 kilometers an hour. I don't know why they chose Doe Street instead of Nadal Street to put it in the first place, but that's where it is, and that's where it's been forever. Yes, so if that's fine.
Yes, I'm ready to move his recommendation of moving the stop sign, monitoring it, and looking at it. I don't know, in 4 months, 6 months, or the spring. That would be the spring, I would guess. Yeah, go ahead.
I do believe that council would have to update the traffic and parking bylaw to amend that. So it would have to go to council to be discussed and for formally changed.
I'm just gonna make sure Willie didn't have anything to say to. Oh, if you were done with it. Sorry.
No, I just want to add, yes, we're recommending it hit to council.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have no questions on this matter.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have a resolution ready?
Be it resolved that the Public Works Advisory Committee recommends to council to the moving, monitoring of the stop sign located at Notre Dame Street West. To Nadon Street.
Bob will move it.
Yes.
Need a seconder, Dave? Those in favor? See every hand. There's one, those against? Okay, pass them.
Question to you, Martin. Also in that report, and you talked about Champlain Street, they're going to Saint Antoine. Were you recommending of lowering the speed limit or putting it all even to 40 within town? Or let that ride for now?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I forgot to bring that up. Yes, my other recommendation was to lower the speed limit on all of the internal roads in Noelville to 40 kilometers an hour. Specifically, I believe Doe Street, Edna Street, Joseph, and Nadon are all 50 technically. Then I believe Leclerc, I believe, is 50, La Haye is 40, Saint Antoine is 40, and then all these ones are just kind of like back and forth. One of the reasons why I'd like to lower the speed limit is by having the speed limit state 50 kilometers an hour, though the road is small and windy or whatever it is, people still have the right to drive 50 kilometers an hour, which is too fast for that road. Same thing like opposite to, we'll say Maillet, where 50 is too slow for that road. But having things too fast, I've received calls in the past, depending on the road, and they're saying, well, people are speeding, people are speeding. A good example of that is Bear Lake Road. So I set up the Black Cat out there. I kept getting calls, people are speeding around the corner by the trailer park. Well, I set up the Cat, everybody's going 50, 55, nobody's speeding, but it's too fast for that corner. So you get issues where you can't call the OPP because nobody's breaking the law. So it's the same thing with our area. I don't want anybody accidentally going 50, 60, 65 near a school zone where they shouldn't be doing that. That's that. So my recommendation is all the internal roads, all the subdivisions, we'll call it, be brought down to 40.
Is there any questions on that? Concerns? No? We have a resolution.
Public Works Advisory Committee recommends to council to lower the speed limits within the residential streets of Noelville. To 40 kilometers an hour.
So how did we distinguish that from, you were saying on Notre Dame West is 50 is enough?
Yes.
Does that not include residential within the residential?
I would classify Notre Dame Street not as a residential street, but more of a collector street. It's not a subdivision. It's a through road. I don't know. I'd have to look up the terminology of the roads for that, but yeah, it's not within a subdivision. It's a road to get to a subdivision.
Okay, as long as when it comes to council, it's clear which roads exactly we're talking about. Dean?
Suspect basically, let's have some public consultation. Yeah. Maybe a lot of public polls or everybody do polls, some would not, maybe everybody would be pleased with seeing it go down polls. Be good to know. Maybe they didn't hear me, I couldn't read it.
Yeah, Willie.
Well. You got it.
No, I was just gonna ask if Dean could put his mic on. I couldn't hear what he was saying.
We got him.
Willie, what I was saying was that council will maybe want to put this to public consultation on reducing from 50 to 40 for all of the town streets in Noelville.
Thank you.
So we're good at, did you want to reread the resolution, please?
The Public Works Advisory Committee recommends to council to consider lowering speed limits to 40 kilometers an hour on residential streets within Noelville.
You get a mover and a seconder?
Yes.
Dean, Bob? Everybody in favor?
Favor of the move. Not necessarily. See what everybody.
Passed. Is that it for 4.1? Yeah. So 4.2, we're gonna review the winter operations. I believe Martin has something on this too.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick overview on Public Works winter operations. I kind of drew up a large spreadsheet here just to give everybody an idea of what we were doing. The municipality of French River plows a total of, what do we got here? 126 kilometers of, no, sorry, 181 total kilometers of road. The municipality maintains 110 roads total. So these roads could be anywhere between municipally maintained roads, municipally maintained entrances, and parking lots. We have a couple private roads and private, I guess, parking lots as well. So the municipality itself, we maintain 126 kilometers while we have our contractor. So the awarded contract this year went to B. Thomas Bulldozing, and they are in charge of doing 55 kilometers in Albin. They also maintain 3, we'll call it parking lots in Albin, which includes the Albin Community Center, the Albin Community Center bin site, as well as the Albin helipad. And then the list of subsequent roads is on your list of everything that they maintain. We maintain all of our roads except for our seasonal roads. It's basically what it is. The municipality maintains 126 kilometers of road going from the bridge in Albin. So we start at Jean Street and do the rest. So anywhere from Ouellette to Noelville, Minettville, and North Minettville. And we also do 13, again, we'll call it parking lots. They range from bin sites. We have 3 bin sites. We have the Noelville bin site, Shaw Road bin site, North Minettville bin site, as well as, what do we got here? A bunch of other parking lots. So the municipal complex, the arena, the public works yard, the Noelville pump house at the cemetery, the lagoon. Yeah. A couple other things that I can add. The municipality uses, we have 2 tandem dump trucks, plow trucks, 2 graders, an F550 2-ton pickup, and an F250 pickup, as well as a backhoe. And we have a sidewalk cleaning machine. We also maintain 3.5 kilometers of sidewalk only in Noelville. All sidewalks in Albin are maintained by the MTO. And that's the general overview of our operations. If anybody has any comments, questions, concerns?
Anybody have any questions or comments? Bob?
Just for my information, the last road, the one with the Zs, the Tezalo Road, where is that one? I've never heard of that one. Off of,
Zetazalo is off of Driftwood at the end of Delamere. It's not very long. There's one house on it.
Dean?
It's difficult to say on a kilometer basis because every vehicle that we use is different. We do have a price in terms of vehicles, so our tandems would cost more over our pickups. That being said, the last time we did an analysis was last year, and our costs have come in, we'll say significantly less. Is that the appropriate term? Compared to our contractor. I wouldn't say, I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't want to say the wrong information. But probably 3/4 of the cost of the contractor. So over the course of 55 kilometers of road that they maintain, it is a significant difference in monies. Another thing to look at, I know I'm kind of steering off course, but we buy all of our sand from the MTO yard, which is a salt sand mix. And B. Thomas provides their own sand, which is nice. They don't have to come up to Noelville to get their sand, but it's another thing that should an analysis be done, how much money could we save having our own sand compared to buying it out? Do we require as much salt as the MTO uses because they have a bare pavement policy, whereas we don't? So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when you're looking at an analysis like that. But as of right now, I don't have numbers for you on a kilometer basis.
Maybe is that something that you want for the next meeting to get those numbers? Put your mic on, please. Can you put your mic on, Dean? Your mic.
To have an idea of a comparative cost analysis, just to see if we're doing the right thing by contracting out, or is it just to see which is cheaper, because then we'd have a better idea. And to do a proper analysis, you'd have to be pretty exhaustive. I mean, the municipality has to start looking at what's the cost of those trucks and what's the cost of the maintenance on them, the whole ball of wax that goes into the cost of plowing. And I know we use those trucks for other purposes in the off season too, and we're not plowing, but we know how expensive that all of it can be, and it'd be interesting to know whether the private contractor is able to do it for less money. Anyway, would be interesting to know, but whether or not it's worthwhile pursuing, I don't know whether anybody has any ideas about doing more, but we would get a lot more life out of our big trucks if we weren't plowing with them in the wintertime.
For sure. I think,
Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
I think too, it's hard to compare, because if you get a cost of what our cost is, what their cost is, and then we'd have to add equipment to pick up the rest and add operators. So can we justify adding that equipment and those operators for just the winter months? I don't know if that would be, because it wouldn't be the same cost. Now you're adding trucks that we're not really needing for the rest of the seasons. And so I don't know how you would compare that exactly.
If I may, I would just point out, based off of my 5 years I've been here, the largest problem that we have while plowing is I don't know how to say this, the lack of another plow. If you were to compare, we currently use 2 graders to plow our roads. If we were to what's bench, that's not the right word. If we were to not use one of the graders to plow and we used an additional tandem truck, we would be able to get a larger amount of larger area covered faster, like we'll say 2 to 3 times faster, as well as having a sander on the back of the truck. So right now what we do is the 2 trucks go out and they do their runs and they sand everything. Well, then when they're done, they got to go back out and they got to sand everything that the backhoe did, the grader's done. So each grader is doing about, I believe it's about 25 to 30 kilometers of road, if not a little bit more, 30, 40 kilometers, while the 2 tandems are doing about 70 kilometers each. So it just gives the guys more work to do at the end of their shift. So it's like they're finally done. They just did an 8-hour plow run and like, oh, they're not done. They got to go back out and sand everything that wasn't sanded because the grader can't do anything. Sorry, not that it can't do anything, it just can't sand. There was also, I'm just also going to mention this. West Nipissing had approached us last year in April sometime, asking us how or if we would be able to maintain Dokes Reserve Road for them as a winter operation. And we just said we don't have the equipment. That's another 20 kilometers of road. It's another Shaw Road. Like we don't have the equipment for that at this time. So I know that they're going to subsidize that work for us, contract us out, but it's a potential idea to look into if we were to do that, get a 3rd truck. Because I know right now we are in the process of replacing one of our pieces of equipment, one of the tandems. And should we decide to keep it as a backup, we're only going to use it as a backup. We're not making a 3rd run for the plow truck, just in case one of the plow trucks go down. Because we've been there where one of the trucks go down and then now what? Now you're sending the grader to Shaw Road or something ridiculous, and it's not great.
Al?
I get your point, Dean, to think about contractors, see if they're cheaper, but don't keep in mind, they've got 7 guys at the Public Works. What do you do with 7 guys when it snows if you don't have any snow plowing? So as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay taxes instead of guys sitting there. And as a business owner, what do you do with 7 guys when it snows? Maybe it's just better off to, I kind of get what you mean, but in his point of view, we're better off to get municipality working.
I guess I was just a bit curious about how the costs compare, just to know that we're being as efficient as the private guys or vice versa. But I also look at what the province did back in the Harris days when they contracted everything out on road maintenance in the province, and are still every government since then has continued to do exactly the same. But if you think, but that's the whole ball of wax year round. I mean, it's a different thing if you try to take some of the people who we need in the summertime doing something and then don't use them in the wintertime. I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. And it's pretty hard for us to compare those figures, but I think we've hacked away at it enough anyways. We're not going to be doing that for sure right away.
I think too, Martin, if I'm not mistaken, we were very close to the same price up until recently when we had to add the tracking in the trucks and the plows, something like that, or the insurance maybe for the last couple of years.
Through you, I don't think we were that close. There was always a significant difference between our rate and the contractor's rate. I wouldn't say an astronomical rate, but there was this substantial difference. I know that in our current contract, the price is going up a lot more than what it has been in the past. And it's just every year is the same thing. It just keeps going up and up and up. And obviously our costs are going up too to maintain, but the difference between us and a contractor is we're not trying to make money. We're trying to get the job done, right? So that I think is the biggest difference between us doing it fully or even more than most that we're doing compared to hiring out a contractor is just they're in it to make money. You know, that's the job. Unless I'm wrong, like I'm pretty sure that's what contractors are for. Yeah, so yeah. So yeah, so like Alice said, we have our employees on standby, we have the staff, we have the equipment to do it. And now we have, in the last couple of years, now we have eight full-time operators for Public Works. There's also me as a backup when required. So we have more than enough staff and equipment to get the job done. It's not to say, let's do this, council, but like once we get one day, if we were to get more of the appropriate equipment, because right now we have like the graders aren't plowing equipment. They can plow. The backhoe is not like the plowing equipment. It can plow. We're using it. We're multifunctioning. We're using it multiple seasons, but there are better tools for the job.
Is there any help?
If you guys want to save money, I strongly suggest to do your own winter sand. I use roughly 300 tons a year and I can't justify driving 5 minutes paying way too much for sand. I go to Sudbury, get my own salt and do my own winter sand because price is crazy for what you're paying compared to what you can do it for yourself.
Just on that note, we are paying, what are we paying? 38? We're paying roughly $37 a ton, give or take $1, for salt sand mix. I had got a quote from a local contractor a few years back regarding straight sand, and they were charging about $8 a ton. So you've got a $30 difference there. So the most we've ever used in a year was 4,000 tons. That was the super crazy winter we had a few years back. We're typically 2,500 tons, but 2,500 times 30 is a lot.
Where we at?
Oh, we're up to 35, 37 per ton from our contractor. It's still more than $8.
Your salt's gonna,
Sorry, the 35, 37 is with salt. The $8 is straight sand.
your salt was about, well, it keeps going up every year, but I believe it was $110 per ton. But you're only putting 3 to 5% of salt. So I'm not good in math, but I'm sure you guys can figure out it's still cheaper.
And I think actually the sand that we're getting from MTO is too much salt for what we need. Because we want to keep a hard packed surface on our roads, and that's melting it.
Interesting, kind of interesting though, that MTO doesn't use that heavy of salt on 607. They just use a little bit of salt in it because they don't bear the road there. And if it'll soften it a little bit. And then if it gets sun, it might go bare, but most of the winter it's got snow on there all the time.
As far as I know, they don't do the secondary highways with pure salt,
Oh,
only the salt sand. far as I know.
Yeah, I believe that's just because of the composition of the asphalt. The asphalt stays warmer in the sun, so it'll melt faster compared to the secondary highways, which are, tar and chip and
But I used to plow for Pioneer and I don't remember ever putting pure salt on Highway 528 and 607. But I don't know if that's the standard. I'm just.
I do believe that they're using the same sand dome. They're not going to be going to Verner to get more sand. So everything from this area is all going to be the same patch.
No, what I meant is they use the same sand salt mix, but on the highways, you're putting straight salt sometimes to melt it. You don't do that on the, well,
Oh, yeah.
we didn't do that on the secondary highways. I don't know if that's the standard, but anyway. I don't think we have anything for resolution on this or anything.
Just for information.
It's just for information. If there's no more comments or questions, Willie, you're okay out there? We'll move on. And we'll go to the 5-year road plan update. Martin again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I've created a new 5-year road plan. It tends to change every year. Some of the roads are frequent flyers and they stay on this list a long time until we can finally get to them. This year, I've been instructed to try my best to finish roads that we had partially started in the past. So basically a few roads we had torn up because they're full of potholes and we turned into gravel roads. The idea is to fix them up and potentially resurface them in the future. So that, as well as all of the side jobs that need to get done, are also on this list and moved up. So that being said, going through this road list real quick, in 2024, our first item is Shaw Road. We have a large 4-foot culvert that needs to be replaced, and it's at the bottom of a hill, and it's a large job. I got a quote this year for about $80,000, but that was not including the guardrails that also need to be replaced. So I added $40,000 on top of that because guardrails, for whatever reason, are $1,000 a meter. So it's ridiculous. The next item was Dry Rapids Road seasonal. For those of you who are unaware of Dry Rapids Road, it is officially deemed, in my opinion, the worst road that we have. You cannot drive this road if you are in a car. I do not like having roads that are municipally maintained that you cannot drive. So I budgeted about $80,000 just in material. I don't care right now about ditching and there's like 4 culverts on the road. I think there's 3 camps on it, but it's roughly about 5 kilometers long and it's a single lane road and you can't drive on it. So right now the idea is just to get a gravel haul out there so it's at least drivable, and we will work from that. Again, it's a seasonal road with 3 cottages on it, so it's not heavy traffic. It's just I don't want them to not be able to access their camp. Oh yes, go ahead. For sure. Dry Rapids Road is about 6 kilometers down Delamere Road in Albin. There is a 1 kilometer municipally year-round section at the beginning of the road. And then once you hit the seasonal portion, it is just, you know, immediately you've hit the seasonal portion. It is that bad. I do not recommend driving out and checking it out because you will damage your vehicle. I've tried to send out a grader there this year, and there's nothing to grade. It's just rocks and bedrock. So it's got to the point where we have to do something.
I'm just going to add, Martin, that the road eventually went to the Murdoch, and then you could cross the Murdoch River and go out onto the highway. I did it a few years ago. It's been a few years since I actually drove right across, but there's a bridge there on the Murdoch, I think. Yeah, isn't there?
I was told there used to be a bridge. I've never seen the bridge. Maybe I just haven't gone far enough, but I am not sure. I'm familiar of the tale that there was a bridge that you can get over it at one point. I don't know if it's still available at this time. We do not maintain no bridge, I can tell you that.
Into the municipality because the roads board out that had that jurisdiction before amalgamation took that little road in. It was the most ridiculous thing to have done because it was nothing but a trail to begin with. But it's amazing to me that highways, because highways used to have the jurisdiction over the roads boards, allowed them to take that road in. But they did. And so then when amalgamation came, that comes into the municipality.
Yes, so just to continue, I decided to change things up a little bit this year because typically the last 4 years we would completely rehabilitate a road from start to finish, get it done right the first time. A couple things that I'm kind of band-aiding on this list. The back end of Shaw Road is dreadful. It requires material. Obviously, we're not going to do Shaw Road in one shot. It's 25 kilometers long. So budgeted $30,000 to do that. We also have a pit off of Shaw Road. And we do have material out there. So the plan is to use that material next year, as well as bringing in, we'll call it appropriately crushed material or better material, and mixing the two. And so we'd have double the aggregate that we have. Instead of just buying it, we'll have our own stock that's, we'll say subpar to what the good stuff is, but still good. So we're going to do our best to use a lot of it. Delamere Road is the big item next year. The first 1.6 kilometers, so just past Gary's Road, the entire road's going to get ripped up. And not just that, I would like to widen the road. One of my considerations would be to basically make it into a highway. The road currently has lots of houses. The inner portion of Albin is very residential. Again, that's another back to the speed thing. The residential area could be controlled at a 40. We have the bank, we have the church, we have the medical center, we have a new subdivision being built in the area. So that area, I would control that. I would reduce that to 40. And then once we get past Gary's Road, just back up to 50, people can drive. There's no more houses back there. But ideally, with the amount of traffic that's on that road, I know I live in the area and I have a hard time walking my dog because there are no sidewalks. And for a road that's 6.5 meters wide, there's more than enough room to walk on the road and a vehicle come by, but doesn't feel safe. So I would recommend widening that road big time, allow for bike lanes. We'll call it bike lanes, walking lanes, and bring the walking lanes all the way up to the new subdivision. That way, once new people move in, they'll have a reason to walk, get to the bank, get to the medical center, walk right down to the main stretch, get to Lemieux, get to Seguin's. we need to, as a municipality, I believe, we need to give people a reason to move here and allowing them walkable roads is the first step. Because if not, who wants to move to a place where you can't walk safely? That's
Do you realize you just described Notre Dame West? But you don't want to pull down Notre Dame West at 40.
I want to put sidewalks in it. But yes. So step one, step two, we gotta fix up these roads. On that topic, you'll see that Notre Dame is not on this list. Neither is Saint Antoine, Champlain, Saint-Christophe, everything in this subdivision. And the reason being is they all have sewer. And our sewers are currently in limbo, we'll call it. We're looking for money to fix it. And I'm not fixing the road until we fix the bottom of it. So they are currently on hold for now. But yeah, there's no sewers in Alpin, so we can just do what we want. After that, La Brosse Road, we fixed up La Brosse about 3 years ago, and every year since then, the road has just been absolutely tiny. It's about 5 meters wide. It's not wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass. Every year, I've planned on widening it, and every year the same thing happens where I just run out of money and time to do it. So I put it in the capital budget this year, and we will get to it. What else we got? Riverview Drive is absolutely destroyed. It just needs to be scarified. That's one of them band-aids that we got to do. It just has to go. We're out there once every other week patching that road. It's just done. No, it's not. And the other project we have is the Shanty Bay turnaround. I am expecting our engineers to submit the tender shortly and to review. They estimated the job to be about $80,000. And so we're going to go from there. In the upcoming years after that, you'll notice the work description. So Delamere is just paved Delamere, again, up to Gary's Road. So everything that we've done, we're not going all the way down the road. Jean Street and Woodvale, I've pushed. Typically, we resurface every other year. We did the work this year. It just makes more sense to let it sit for an entire year because we have other roads that we are resurfacing at the same time. Green Bay Road, again, that road is just, it needs love. Heritage River Road. This is one of those projects that we had started a few years back where we ripped it up, and there's been a lot of voicing to fix it and bring it back to what it was, and I'm not service treating it unless we fix it properly. This one also includes the Sedgwick intersection, which is just very terrifying. If you've ever driven there, the turn, it's just not a safe intersection. So that's also a part of that job. The following years, 2026, I put Edna, Nadon, Joseph, and Doe Street in one. There are actually no sewers there. Well, that's a lie. There's a sewer on the beginning portion of Doe Street, but the rest isn't. So we can rehab those. North Channel, that's another job from a couple of years back where we ripped it up and we fixed some of it. That one was an interesting case. The engineer that we had hired just kind of picked and chose areas of the road to fix. That was the last time we used an engineer. Then I started doing full makeovers of the roads. So we're going to fix that one up all the way up to North Channel Camp in Mayar. And it's a crossroad intersection there. Whitetail is another one where we ripped up, and it's very, very dusty. And there's been a lot of concern regarding sight lines and breathing in the dust. So though it's a couple of years down the line, we will finally get to it. 2027 is entirely surface treatment. So double surface treatment of the years previous, so Whitetail, North Channel, and Edna, Adon, Joseph. And then the rest is everything that we've surface treated in the past. So one thing that we haven't done with French River is keep our surface treatment alive. We tend to have things paved and just leave it because it's paved and it cracks up and dies eventually. So it is recommended after 5 years to resurface them again. An example of that is we did that at the back end of Dry Pine Bay from from Whippoorwill all the way down to Misha Falls. We've actually just added a layer onto that to keep it alive for another 5 years. It will die eventually, but we just keep keeping it alive as best we can. So that's so if you look at 2027, that is literally every road we've paved in the last 5 years. And then the last year we have Doak East Reserve Road. There was a recommendation to fix up the beginning of the road. Basically the first 600 meters of the road, it's the corner at Mercer Lake Road. And we are there constantly grading that at least once every other week because the traffic, the speed, people taking on that corner just wrecks that road like crazy. So the recommendation is to fix it, put more gravel down, and potentially pave it. So we don't have to deal with that anymore. Other issue, again, that's 5 years down the line, so it's not definite, like, you know, we'll get to it when we get to it. But another one, 2028 Sedgwick. If you haven't been down Sedgwick Road, it is another cow path. At least you can drive it. It's not like Dry Rapids, but it is developed. So there's roughly probably about 20 to 30 camps, which are now full-time residents. It's a 1-lane road. It is not fun to plow. It needs to be widened. Shanty Bay needs to be redone, and Trout Lake also needs to be redone. There's so many more roads that need to be redone, but yeah. If anybody has any comments, concerns, questions.
I have a question, comment. I'm just looking at the estimated cost for every year, and I believe that's over budget for what we have. Does that mean we need to bring that down, or we have to look at maybe bring the budget up?
I like that option, but I believe if I remember correctly, my estimated my budget is 650, which is roughly where things are. There's a few in the 700s. When I'm doing these projected costs, there's a lot of inflating the numbers to make sure that we have enough money. So typically what would happen is that we'll say 2024, it's estimated at 623. It usually comes in at about 580. It's because I just tend to throw a couple tens of $1,000s, a little bit extra here and there, so we don't go over budget. It's been working out so far. So I usually put about 15% contingency for gravel and stuff like that. So just to make sure we have enough. I know we've had French River Contracting do a couple of our roads, and they're like, there's a lot of gravel left over. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. No, saving money. Yeah. It's close. It's not crazy. Again, we've had this conversation in the past where everything is going up in costs, and $600,000 from 5 years ago is only equal $400,000 today. So the longer we stay at like $600,000, we are doing a lot of work, but the more prices increase, the less work we're going to get going.
Yeah, I remember Dean was here when I think the budget was what, 300 or 350 when we first started this committee, and then we bumped it up to 6 or 650, which was good back then, but it's starting to Yeah, can you put your mic on, Dean? If you're-
That's roads, it's costing more, everything costs more now.
Yeah.
And it's all, it all boils down to when we're at budget is, how much do we want to raise taxes? How much do the people want us to raise taxes? And it's difficult to explain to people, the regular citizens, just where the money goes, but it's hard to believe that we have a 7 million plus total budget and it's not enough. It'd be good if we had another million in it, but I guess the only thing that does change a little bit is we've got more and more people that have come into the area. The building is going on yet. I've seen a couple of new houses not far from us now. That'll raise taxes a little more too. But drop in the bucket when it comes to this kind of thing. I don't know, maybe we'll see what the CAO says when it's budget time. What he thinks was have to have. I noticed I was looking at Monte Guerin and that culvert, and we're still waiting, hopefully, trying to get a big grant for that. I don't think we've gotten it yet, and
No,
that culvert's in bad shape. And then if we see, what is it, approximately 2.2 million.
but that's what we have in reserve for that, really.
Yeah,
But we're trying to not use it. We're trying to get grants,
yeah.
which it doesn't look promising. Martin? wanna add something?
Not to dissuade anybody in the audience or counselors, but the one thing I have learned is roads, at least where we are the lifeblood and soul of your town. People can't get to the arena if there's no road, people can't get to the splash pad because there's no road. People can't get to the dump because there's no roads. The money we put into road infrastructure benefits everyone who uses transportation. One of the things I had learned, I used to play a video game that the whole point of the game was to build a town, and somebody had commented that he had built like 6 hospitals, but everybody in his town was dying. And he's like, I don't understand. Well, it's not the fact that you don't have enough hospitals, it's the fact that you have traffic jams everywhere and your roads aren't good. So you don't have a money problem, you have a roads problem. And though it's just a game, I take that to heart a lot, because when Noel, like French River was built and designed 100 years ago, it may not be an optimal design, but it's what we have and we got to work with. But all the new subdivisions that come in and new roads, we need to think about the future and how to design them properly. So it's that's why I suggest things like widening out the roads, because there's more traffic on them. We need sidewalks at certain locations. We need to reduce speeds at certain locations. We got to think about who are using these roads and what they're being used for. Thank you.
No, what?
So we've got total of 110 roads. I get some are surface here in town and that. If you look at the next 3 years and you pay attention, that's only 9 roads out of 110. Is there like a little concern that in the future, because you're just double surfacing, whatever, surfacing the 2 years after the 2027, is there like a plan?
Sorry, can you specify what plan you mean?
Just an example, Shaw Road, you're doing the last 4 kilometers, but then nothing else for the next 3 years after. I know a guy that has a grader that grades that road and needs desperate loving soon with gravel. So that's when my concern or plan question is.
A lot of the small jobs, the small fixes we try to do operationally. It's difficult when you come, like, I know everybody knows, but like when we look at the big roads, Delamere, Owl's Nest, Shaw Road, you can't fix it. It's 25, 10 and 10 kilometers long. You're looking at roughly about $120,000 a kilometer to fix a road. So that's $3 million for Shaw Road. It's $1 million for Owl's Nest and Delamere. It's us finding money and throwing at it. And sometimes it may or may not be in the budget, but we've done it here and there where, you know, roads are like, that road is destroyed. We need to throw a couple loads of gravel here and there. And unfortunately, when you come to things like Shaw Road, a couple loads doesn't do squat all, because you need, and also it's wide too. So you need 4 loads just to do one little row and you're not doing anything. Yeah. So, operationally, we're going to throw money at it. That's yeah.
Yeah, because this is a capital budget. There's still money for operational. Which, like he's saying, if an emergency or needs to be fixed, or this is capital work. But I understand what you mean, but there's just not the budget to do all the roads. And even if we had the budget, there wouldn't be enough contractors in the area to do all the roads.
When we amalgamated, we took in the whole 200 kilometers, I think it is, of roads we have in this municipality. Most were poor quality roads. A lot of them were just barely roads. And not a lot of money came with amalgamation to do major work on a lot of the roads. I think that what Martin has been trying to do for the most part is a priority basis. Take a look at the roads, which ones get the most traffic, which ones have the most people staying on them on a year-round basis, which ones are simply cottage roads. And take a look at the roads and say, we have so many dollars to work with. Where does the money go? And set priorities. And I think we've been trying for the most part to do that. But we're way behind when we started. And as costs go up and up and taxes go up and up, we don't seem to ever get ahead of the game very well. I think though, I think I can say this, I will say this, that we have a lot more of our roads in the municipality right now that are in good condition compared to a few years ago. And people are able to get to the arena or get to the stores or the liquor store or wherever they're trying to go in this municipality. And we'd like to see them all in a first class condition. They don't all warrant that. We've got roads that were just barely roads to service 2 or 3 cottages on the waterfront. And we've got roads like that. What's the point of spending a lot of money on those roads when we've got roads with a lot more people on them that are getting a lot more daily use? Those are the kind of things that I'm pretty sure Martin is trying to set his priorities based on a lot of that sort of thing. And we don't really have much choice because we're not getting any big grants to do roads from anybody. So wish we were.
Through you. Basically, my main priority is to make all the roads drivable. That's step 1. Once Dry Rapids will be repaired, all of the roads in the municipality will be drivable, which is step 1. Obviously, some are worse and some get beat up a lot more than others, but they're still drivable. Step 1. Step 2, I have been with the municipality for just about 5.5 years now. In that time, we have repaired completely 30 roads. So out of the 120 roads that we have, 30 of them are done. And now it's like, that sounds pretty good, but also a lot of these are like, I don't know, I just look at this list. Lee Street is like 100 meters long, and Léger and Presqu'île and Gilbert and a lot of roads in Alban are very small. So we're doing a lot of work on residential roads that have a lot of people, which is great. But the problem is that when we get down to the last 90 roads, we have Shaw Road, Cherryman, and whatever else we have, Delamere and Hell's Nest and Driftwood and yeah, so but it's getting better. We fixed up Mercer there this year. That was another one that was impassable. Ideally, I just don't want anything to happen where an emergency services get called out and they are unable to get to where they're going. So that's the ultimate goal. The next goal is to fix up all of the basically we'll call them the main arteries. Delamere, Hoole Road, Getting, Whitetail, Heritage, Dry Pine, that one's done. But the major roads are, all of the people go on to drive out, right? Because like Councillor Dean had said, when you're looking at roads that have 4 or 5 houses on them, not too much traffic, once they get to the main road and they can get out and everyone else can get out, that's kind of the most important thing. Yeah, so with that, that's my presentation.
There's no further comments. I think we're doing a resolution to council here.
Be it resolved that the Public Works Advisory Committee recommends to council to adopt the updated 5-year road plan.
I get a mover. Dave. Seconder. Gary. Everybody in favor? Passed. Ooh, where are we? 5-year road plan 4.4. Go on to roundtable discussion. So if anybody has anything they want to bring up from the members first. Anybody really? No. Is anybody from the public that wants to bring up something? Can you get a mic, please?
Thank you for letting me visit. I'm impressed with what I hear. It's very professional and nice and quick.
Sorry, can you introduce yourself? Not everybody knows you here. If you don't mind, please.
How am I doing now? Good. Okay, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Tim Doherty. I'm a 25-year cottager, 5-year full-time resident of Minette Road, just off of Shanty Bay and Minetteville Road. The thing I wanted to talk about today, we've come out and with a petition to leave the part-time service, seasonal maintenance on it and go to full-time maintenance. We've been working on it for about 3 years, our third stab. Number of reasons that I'm talking to you, we're hopefully going to have your support. We're trying to get to council with a petition that's been certified. 100% of the ratepayers on that road are in agreement and signed off. We've agreed to pay the costs to a budgeted amount and then some upset beyond that. So thinking that this would not be a burden on the municipality, but it would allow us to, I say, take the sign down, the one that says seasonally maintained. Just a couple of bullets. I don't want to take any of your time. I know the meeting's going to end shortly. Anyway, so we all agreed. I'm going to fund it. There's no need to. The municipality at times have done this by giving you a 10-year financing plan and you pay it back through a tax. We've agreed not to do that. We'll just pay it. So there's no interest costs, no long-term commitments with the municipality. Two things about our road. One is we're senior friendly. So the road is 230 meters long, just put it in perspective, not very long. The furthest residences are in their 80s, mid 80s. And I think the middle one right down to that 75 to 65s. We're a senior group down there, generally speaking. But there are 3 lots that are owned by 30-year-olds. Maybe they're 20s. So it's a little dynamic of our neighborhood. Nobody's leaving. We're adding some nice young people in there. The reason that it's really, really important to us is emergency services. And with the sign, we cannot access emergency services. And because we're an elderly group, we're a little older. I'll give you the example. In fact, it's personal. My wife had a medical emergency and the ambulance had to park at the top of the road and 2 fellows walked out. To their credit, they walked down and thank you for walking down and helping us out. But that's the sign. So we said, okay, let's just get rid of the sign. The process is the one I'm kind of describing. And what we're trying to accomplish. So just looking for some support. I hear the financial issues. I understand you're going to commit funds. We're trying to forego that as much as we possibly can. Kind of take whatever roadblocks are out there and mitigate them. So I think we're there. We're close to getting the council. Council's been really busy the last couple of weeks, but I'm optimistic that it's going to get on the table for discussion. And one other item I wanted to say was kind of a compliment to the staff in the process. Often these things are so cumbersome they can't be fixed. And this one is proven with effort and conversation. I think we fixed it and I think we're going to be successful with getting the message out. We're not looking for something for nothing. We're really trying to advance this road and advance the municipality. It makes that statement about senior friendly. So that's my message. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. And if not, thanks for listening to the story.
Thank you, Tim. Is there anybody has a question for Tim in this matter? Dean?
What's the name of the road, Tim? Manette Road? Okay. Okay.
Can you stay on the mic when you're talking? Willie can't hear you.
Yeah, so Manette Road is just off of Shanty Bay Road and Manettville Road, that zone. We're on actually the southwest corner of Lake Nipissing, very as far as you can possibly go.
And what's the length of it?
230 meters.
And I think, Martin, you've been in contact with him with this. Is there anything you want to add to?
Yeah, I'll just add, I've been down the road more times this past year than I think I've ever been down the road. No, last year I took a drive down. There was a couple issues with the road, and I deemed it the time to repair the issues. I don't think we've ever spent money on Manette Road since we've inherited it in the 70s, I believe. So we spent about $10,000 or something like that, I don't know, last year in fixing up the road. The road is currently not wide enough to be assumed by the municipality, and that is why the petition came through. So the point of the petition is to, or at least from the municipality's point of view, is to have the road widened at the seasonal residents' costs. We have on our what do you call that? Our policy? It's our policy. To become a part of the municipality, we have a certain standard. In the case of Manette Road, the road is too small. There is not enough residents on the road to merit building a highway. There's no need. There's no through traffic. There's no nothing like that. There's no new development. I don't think you can have any new development. The road is full. I don't personally see an issue not making it 8-meter wide road. It doesn't warrant it. It does need to be large enough to accommodate our pickup truck, however. So I've been down the road a few times. I don't see an issue with us taking it over should everything go through. We have a truck in the vicinity when we plow, we already grade it, like it's,
What do you mean, take it over, Martin? I thought we said that, do we not have that road now? I thought you said we do have that road.
sorry, Councillor Dean, it's a seasonally maintained road. So the whole point of the petition is for us to essentially plow it during the winter. So we maintain it right now, we grade it, it's in great condition. It's just not wide enough for us to plow it. So that's the whole point of the petition. Yeah,
And with the pickup truck, we can't plow it? We're doing some pretty narrow stuff.
so the view by Public Works and upper management is we do not want to take on more responsibilities of a road that we can avoid. Yeah, I don't know how to say that properly. We want to make sure that the road is like of a certain standard before we take it on. So could we plow with a pickup truck right now? Probably, but the road is literally one lane. It's about 3.5, 4 meters wide. Ideally, we want a minimum of 5.5 to 6 meters, which would be just shy of 2 lanes. Again, there's 7 houses. So I ended up I had the car counter on the road last week. I'm just waiting on the data to be downloaded and we can see the car count. You'll never have 2 vehicles driving into each other there. Like it doesn't require to be 2 lanes wide. But it needs to be wide enough that our plow has room to maneuver. That makes sense.
We're not plowing it now? You're not plowing, it hasn't? Oh,
Sorry, Tim, just for the Willie and the public can't hear you. We're live and recorded here.
Yeah, no, when we plow it ourselves, in fact, I do a lot with my snow blowing. It's not a large task, kind of like snow blowing. We've had a contractor in, work with the farmer will come in. 2 of our residents have plows on their trucks. I've been there for 5 winters. It's plowable, but there is, from the perspective that the municipality understand, there's a turnaround. We've worked on the turnaround. That's pretty doable. There's a couple of things technically that could make it a lot better.
thank you. It sounds very familiar because where we live on the French, we've been there 76 years. And we were there when the roads weren't kept at all in the wintertime. And then there was gradual efforts made by individuals to start to try to plow the road. And I've been through all of that too. And it's kind of interesting to know that we still have roads that have to be plowed with a snow blower.
Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I do have one concern to make, not regarding Minette Road. It's regarding plowing seasonal and / private roads. This has been a thing before I arrived here. It was just a thing that I never understood. I'm just gonna be the bug in your ear, but we maintain Minette Road. We know what it's like. It's good. I believe that we can plow it. It needs to be a little bit wider. But we plow private roads that we don't maintain, that are substandard. We have to go out there every year to make sure that we're not going to wreck our plows because we don't know what kind of shape these roads are in. Yet we take on the responsibility and liability of these roads, but we don't know, they're not wide enough, but we plow on those. But we won't plow our own roads that we maintain. I never kind of understood that one. Just to throw that at you guys there. It's just one of those things that we have 7 residents on Minette who are a part of the municipality, but are not getting that access or that service, but we have private roads that are getting that access, that service. But are not part of the municipality, like they are part of the municipality, but they're not part of our road network. So it's just, I don't understand that one.
But they do pay for that service.
They do pay for that service. So it
Right.
just goes to show why can't they pay for that service? Or get that service because they are a municipal road? Or why don't other private roads pay for that service? Like, it's just a can of worms that I'm opening there, but it's just. It's just a topic for discussion.
Have we looked into the exact cost of this or exactly what needs to be done? I know it needs to be widened, but how much work does that entail?
Yes, I received a quote from, we only got one quote. It was from French River Contracting. The quote to essentially fix up the road was about $15,000.
And Tim was saying everybody was agreeing to pay that.
There is one thing that was brought up to me today regarding Manette Road. If there's anybody in the audience from Manette Road who wants to listen, there will be potentially an additional cost. I have to look into it regarding a survey of the road. But that was an unforeseen cost that I did not know was required because we do have the original subdivision plan. But I believe we also require an actual survey of the road once it's completed. So I will definitely look into that and let you know, because that will add an additional cost. I can't see it being an astronomical cost, but it would be more than what the promised cost was previously. Or the quoted cost, not the promised cost. Thank you.
So basically this is ready to go. It just needs to come up through council. Everything else is.
Yeah.
So can we
I just-
make a recommendation that this?
I just
goes
need
up
to get,
council?
sorry, I just need to get 100% clarity that a survey is required and that I can get that quote, that I can bring that quote to the Manette Road Roads Board, we'll call it, and for them to agree again on that cost. And then we would be good to go from there.
Okay, so maybe we'll let you.
Yeah.
Get what you need done. And then we can see it from there.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Are we okay with that, Tim? Okay, thank you. Is there anything else for a roundtable discussion anybody else wants to bring up? Seeing none. We're gonna move to adjournment, so I need a mover and a seconder for the adjournment. Bob? Willie, you want a second? We haven't heard from you tonight. Oh, he's not a member? Oh, he's just a guest, okay. Anybody else? Gary? Sorry, Willie.
You're forgiven, Dave. That's why I'm sitting so silent. I'm just an observer.
Okay, I didn't remember that you weren't a member. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned. Have a good night, Willie.